Welcome to Movement Not Miracles. I am Anna from Eat, Move, Be Happy, and Martha is about to make an appearance and say hello as well. So Movement Not Miracles is it's another week already. Do you know we've been doing this for just a year, just about on a year now. Who would have thought it way back when? So here we are, enough of the reminiscing. Movement Not Miracles is your bite-sized version of ways to keep your joints mobile and stretch through some of your muscles to ward off some of those aches and pains that we can get when we're either sitting still for long periods or not moving around as much as we would like. So top tip, don't sit still for long periods. Keep moving, keep walking around, and when you are up and on your feet or changing your position, then keep your upper back and your shoulders moving to help look after your posture. So you can do that when you're making a cup of tea. So we are going to do a bit of an all-over mobility and stretch session today, just to keep those shoulders awake, get your upper back working and working through our hips as well. And looking at that sunshine out there so that we can get out there and enjoy this good weather whilst it lasts. You will need some sort of belt or strap or broom handle, something to brace your arms against so we can do our shoulder dislocates shortly. It doesn't matter if you haven't got one, we can do shoulder rolls, which we're going to start with in a second as well, but we're going to do the work through our shoulders to start off with. So just as a start point, standing or sitting nice and tall. So make sure your weight is evenly distributed between your left and your right side, so you're nice and balanced and you're standing up tall, pushing the floor away with your feet. And I'm doing my stretches and my poses in bare feet. You don't have to do it in bare feet, but I quite like being able to feel the floor with your feet. You can just pay a bit more attention to where your weight is, which is a good habit to get into. So just rolling our shoulders to start off with. So if you think of shoulders up towards your ears, back and down, and really squeezing those shoulder blades together as you move your shoulders back and down. Ooh, there's a few clunks and clicks there today. And then gradually increase and bring your arms, so you're rotating your arms all the way back around. So my shoulder flexibility is not brilliant and they do feel a little bit stiff today. So it's a good job we're actually working on them. I'm just going to move away from the wall. So all the way around and down. And think of really squeezing those shoulder blades as you bring your arms down there. Leading with your thumbs as you go back and palms up as you come down. And you're aiming for as big a movement as you can and without letting your bum stick out. There's a real tendency as you stretch back, you arch your back and then let your bum stick out. And what I want you to think of is keeping your bottom tucked under, so work through your butt to push your hips forward and keep all of this bit nice and stable so that you get more movement through your shoulders rather than through the rest of the body. It's not exactly wrong, but if we're aiming for our shoulders to do the work, let's encourage them to do the work. So I'm going to grab my belt now, and if you work on, the wider your arms are, then the easier this is, and there shouldn't be any pain doing this. This is a move that enables me, certainly, I need to just widen that a little bit, to get some more movement out of my shoulders, because my shoulders do get quite stiff, but we're just aiming for all the way around and down and then all the way back over. And it's at that point there you get a nice stretch across the front of your chest, but also I'm really working through my upper back muscles, squeezing my shoulder blades together, and it means that I get more movement through my shoulders. And having the belt to brace yourself against just enables you to get a little bit more movement. So your arms stay straight. Now, if your shoulders are a little tight, or if you've got a problem with shoulder mobility, just stay with the shoulder rolls. So do not force this move at all. That's a little bit harder work for me now. So hard work in the muscles is fine, but pain in the joint is not. So the closer your hands are together, then the more your shoulders need to move and the harder this will be. So the more flexibility you need through the actual shoulder joint, and the more your shoulder blades have to move around. Okay, that feels a little bit better. So you can pop your belt down now. We're now going to do some side bends, so moving into the back a little more. So I'm going to widen my stance a little bit, and we're going to reach down one side, and we're going for mobility to start off with, so we're not holding the move. So we're just going to build the move up gradually, reaching down the side of your leg and keeping your body in that nice straight line. So we're not leaning forwards to reach down. It's not a reach forwards and reach to the side. We're staying in that nice straight line and reaching down to the side. So again, you can do these if you are seated or if you are standing. And as you do a few more, you probably find that you can get a little bit more movement. So see if you can go a little bit further. Keeping breathing whilst you're doing this, because there is a tendency to hold our breath, but breathing is quite important. Right, and then we're going to introduce a stretch with the other arm over the top as well. So if you can, reaching up with one arm first, and then as you reach down with the other arm, really reaching over. So you're now going to feel a nice stretch down this side. So here, we're going to hold it for a little bit longer. So we've got some mobility and a nice stretch. So reaching up first and then over. Keeping breathing and staying relaxed through the rest of your body. So be aware of what's happening in your jaw. If your jaw is clenched or your tongue is in the roof of your mouth, that's an indication that you're carrying some tension there, which is not unusual, but trying to relax through your jaw and relax through your neck is a good idea. So I'm getting a bit more movement now. I know I'm reaching a little bit further down that leg, which is good, which is what we're aiming for, and that nice stretch, which we've done a couple of times on each side, because second time is always better. We know this. Okay, so a little bit of a twist now in that upper back. Again, to work on posture and to keep some movement through our spine. And we're aiming to twist as much as you can through that upper back and through the spine. So we're not just twisting our arms round. And if you can think of keeping your lower half of your body facing forwards. So we're not moving through our hips and our feet. Everything stays planted, whether you're standing or whether you're seated. And think of, as you take your shoulders one way, keep that hip back to get as much movement through the spine as you can. And again, we're going for mobility to start off with. So we're not particularly holding the move, but each time you reach round, see if you can reach a little bit further, and a nice breathe out as you twist. So we're really aiming for movement through the spine rather than just through the arms. So you will know if you are a regular to Movement Not Miracles. I talk a lot about our spine should move, not a lot, but it should move. And I know that for me in particular, my upper back can get really stiff if I don't keep it moving. So twists and side bends and shoulder rolls are a really, really good way of keeping your shoulders and your upper back healthier. Right, so we're going to do some work on our hips now, and just a simple movement through your hip. And again, you can do this seated or standing. So a bit of a balance one. So if you need to, then make sure you are close to a wall or some support. And you're lifting that knee up towards the chest. So the knee comes up rather than the chest coming forwards. So, ooh, she said, wobbling. So lifting that knee up as high as you can. So you should feel a little bit of a stretch down the back of your thighs there and into your bum, down your hamstrings and into your glutes. But also we're encouraging that hip joint to a little bit more movement rather than it just staying like this, which is where it would be if we were sitting. So a bit more movement through that hip joint. And let's do the same on the other side, and I'll just turn around. So balancing on one leg. The stabilisation of standing on one leg is really good for your Achilles as well. And then lift that knee up towards the chest. Keeping breathing. And you just encourage that knee to come up high. Okay, and then lifting your leg up, knee out and back down. And the same on the other side. And again, a really simple move. Not necessarily easy to do, does require some balance, but it just encourages your hip joint to move through a bigger range of motion. If you have problems with your hips, because maybe you've had an injury or your hip joint is a little stiffer, then again, there shouldn't be any pain, so don't force the movement, but encouraging certainly a forwards and a backward movement is a good place to start. So lifting your knee up and pushing your leg back. Okay, and then we'll finish off with a really simple hip stretch, which stretching the front of our hips, which you do need to be able to get up out of a chair to do. And I'm going to show you a kneeling version. It's quite a gentle one. It's not the deeper stretch version, but we're aiming to stretch through the front of our thigh here. So if you can kneel on the floor on one leg and balance on with your other leg up like I'm showing you here, and then rather than your bottom sticking out, think of really tilting that pelvis forward. So you're working through the muscles in your bum to push your hips forward. So you should feel a nice stretch down the front of your hips here into your hip flexors. Now again, these are the muscles that help lift your knee up towards your abdomen. And if you think about it, they're in this position all of the time. So they get quite, if you're sitting, so they can get quite short. So stretching through the front of your hips and the muscles around the side of your hips is a really good idea. Because if your muscles are short and tight, then you're not going to get the movement through the hip and then through the joint. And then that's where you can end up with some aches and pains. Let's swap to the other side. So sometimes stiffness in joints, tilt your pelvis forward. Sometimes your stiffness in joints is because muscles are tight. So muscles are holding the joint in an incorrect position, and sometimes it's because the joint itself, you might have problems with the joint. So it's a combination of muscle flexibility and joint mobility. So really pushing the hips forward, using your glute muscles in your bum to push forward, and to increase the stretch you might just want to lean forwards a little bit, keeping your body upright. Okay, so hips feel a little bit more awake now, shoulders feel better. So keeping moving is a really good top tip, and keeping your joints moving, even if they feel stiffer. I know just doing that now, I was a little bit stiffer to start off with, but the more you do, then the joints can loosen off. So keep moving regularly, doing little movements throughout the day is a really good top tip. And remember, there's no dose too small, two movements, so doing something is better than doing nothing. So enjoy the rest of this lovely weather. It's supposed to be really nice today, not so bad tomorrow. Cooling down for the weekend, I understand. So make the most of it, get outside if you can, and I will be back tomorrow for more Movement Not Miracles.